All right, so what's going on? So I'm well aware that it's quite possible that I might get some hate mail on top of some hate comments for this entire video, but as it goes, we've all seen the Porsche, like pictures of them entering Formula One, the Porsche car, which is very sexy, and heard about all of these situations that leads to Porsche not appearing in Formula One until 2026, given that certain rules change, regulations are in place, and motors are sealed. Why is this? Why is there so much back and forth about Porsche and when they come in and how they feel about coming in? Well, I think the fact is, well, not a fact, my opinion is Porsche is scared. Why is Porsche scared? Well, before we get into that, we'll have to do a little bit background and some maybe foundation building for all of us that may not know certain things, because I definitely don't know everything. This video could be long. I'm gonna try to get through it as fast as possible, but follow me and stick with me. With that being, I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna challenge myself to not say, with that being said, during this entire video, except for this time that I just said it. Anyway, let's go. So first off, the Volkswagen Group with Porsche and Audi is technically the same thing, all right? It's technically the same umbrella. Why? Because the Volkswagen Group has these product names with under their entire umbrella. First, starting with Audi, Bentley, Bugatti, Cupra, Ducati, Jetta, Lamborghini, Porsche, Seat, Skoda, and of course the Volkswagen car. All of these product names are under Volkswagen as an umbrella, all right? And might I add, Volkswagen as an umbrella with all of these products combined, 250 billion euros. Yes, 250 billion euros. So do they have the money to compete in Formula One? Yes, but I'm pretty sure they're going to need sponsors because this money has to be allocated certain ways. Also, going into this, where has Porsche been? Has Porsche ever been in Formula One before? It's been said that they are supposed to be new entrants into this, either through engine manufacturer or a team as itself. But let's look and see what things Porsche has been doing through the recent years, later years, past and far beyond years, whatever the years may be. And there still might be other ones that I miss here, but so far this is what I know. Porsche participating in motorsports such as rally car, IMC, Formula One, Formula 2, Indy cars, Carrera Cup, and several other amateur racing events. Who would have thought? But yes, did you hear what I said? Formula 2 and Formula 1. Should we consider them new entrants? Well, maybe, maybe not. Let's look into a little bit of maybe what they were doing in Formula 2 and Formula 1 at these times, and you be the judge for yourself. In the 1950s, Porsche enters the 718 RSK as a two-seater. Yes, in Formula 2, as a result, this was permitted. The 718 was first modified by moving the seat into the center of the car, and subsequently proper open wheels were built. The 1500cc car was enjoyed, and it did have some success. So in Formula 1 in the 1960s, Porsche outdated design was not competitive. In 1962, a newly developed flat 8 powered and sleek Porsche 804 produced Porsche's only win as a constructor and championship race, claimed by Dan Gurney in 1962 at the French Grand Prix. 1 week later, he repeated the success for Porsche's home crowd in a non-championship race. So after this so-called Formula One run, they ended up pulling out. Why did they end up pulling out? They ended up pulling out because of cost. It got too expensive. They couldn't keep up with this shit. So Porsche decided to go ahead and pull out of Formula One at this time, although they had very minimal success anyway. And were they ever seen again? Yes, they were seen again. Don't quote me on this. You can feel free to do your research, check into some of these things. I think it's fun when we have debates. I think it's fun when we fact check each other. That's what makes the culture better, right? That's what makes this platform fun, because I accept it, right? Sometimes I'm not right, I'm wrong, right? It just happens. So did we ever see Porsche again as a Volkswagen again, or all these other subsidiaries and umbrella with all these company brands in Formula One again? Yes, we did. When was this? Having been successful in the 1970s with V6 turbocharged engines, in 1983, Porsche returned after 2 decades supplying water-cooled V6 turbo engines badged as TAG. So yes, TAG really is Porsche. But why does Porsche not put Porsche on the engine cover? Because they were scared. Porsche previously had already failed in certain areas of this, so instead of putting their name on the engine cover, they put tag on there, and they lived behind tag, and even though they lived behind tag, these things still took place and happened. Although the engines bore made by Porsche identifications, initially Porsche was reluctant to have their names on the engines, fearing bad publicity if they failed. However, within a few races of the 1984 season, when it became evident that the engines were the ones to have, that made by Porsche badge began to appear. So sooner or later, when Porsche became confident about what they had actually built, they decided that they didn't want to have the tag name on there. Like, we're doing pretty good. We don't want tag to get the credit. Let's put Porsche on there now that we're sure things are gonna be okay. That's what I call chicken shit. I'm sorry. In America, that's what we call chicken shit. Either you're gonna step up and claim it, or you're not gonna claim it. I mean, that's just simple as that. So even though they had started having this success and they put their name on the engine cover, they got over their nervousness about failure. Did they really get over the failure hump? Not quite, because some pretty prominent names in the motorsports world of history decided that Porsche wasn't doing enough. And who were these people? The McLaren drivers who regularly raced with the engines Loud, Post, Rosenberg, and Johansson continually asked Porsche to develop a special qualifying engine like their rivals. However, both Porsche and Tag owners balked at the request due to extra cost involved, reasoning the power race engines already had equal power and better fuel economy than all the bar Hondas. Was Honda in this? Yes, Honda was. I got the shirt on for a reason. Back around this time, like 1980s, 83, Honda was involved in Formula One. And if you've seen my hoodie, I've worn it before on another episode. People thought it was like Dutch colors, which I would never wear Dutch colors. I would never represent Max Verstappen in that way. It was the Honda team back in then. They were participating in Formula One. So Honda also has been in Formula One before and returned with Red Bull as they started out that power unit, which we will get into that. So let's get into further information about Porsche in Formula One and their continued failure in Formula One. So Porsche then returned again in 1991 as an engine supplier. However, this time the distraught results were with footwork aero. So with the Porsche 3512, I believe, this was another failure. It didn't work out well for Porsche. Porsche ended up again leaving Formula One after this catastrophic ending to their Formula One, should we say run? Yeah, it was not a very good run. It ended up very bad in so many ways, in so many dark spots, and then they ended up leaving. So how now are we saying that Porsche is again to return to Formula One and become a new entrant? I just don't think that this should be. I think at some point in time, if you keep coming in, you keep coming in, you keep leaving, you can't be considered new. You just keep trying, right? You just keep trying. So why is now Porsche asking for all these concessions? Well, I think the picture is starting to form up. So let's get into what we call some people who are actually in Formula One that have had success over years and not continuously left and came back, continuously left and came back. How about we do that? So what does Ferrari's team principal Binotto have to say about this? Well, I'll tell you what he has to say about this, paraphrasing, not exactly word for word, but I think it was pretty inspirational. I think we are very happy for Porsche and Audi to join F1. It is great for the sport. So he thinks it's great for the sport. So he's not even hating on the fact that Porsche is trying to come back. And I'm pretty sure Ferrari knows the history of Porsche being in Formula One. And I don't even know if that's like a smug type of remark. Like, yeah, they've been here before and they failed. I'm Ferrari. I don't give a damn. Let them come in. It's great. All right, we got a Porsche, Ferrari on the track. We'll show them what's up. I really kind of think that's how he's coming out, because if you saw the car reveal, he really came gangster this year with like him just talking like Italian up there. It was kind of like, whoa, man, this is some Carlito type like shit. Like, what's going on? This is like the Godfather type thing going on. Like, it's crazy. But anyway, who else has something to say? Toto Wolff has something to say. And what did he have to say? Did he like or did he hate the idea? I'll let you decide for yourself and I'll follow it up. Team principal Toto Wolff says, it's great if Volkswagen Group joins Formula One. Fantastic brand. It increases the credibility of what we do, and they are racers. But as far as I understand, there is no firm confirmation as of yet. Indeed, Volkswagen was made it clear that involvement is subject to the final regulations, and in the background, a debate is ongoing regarding the concessions available to new entrants and how they will be managed. So as we see here, current team principals are starting to like wonder, how is it that they are bringing Porsche in as a team, as an engine supplier? How are they coming in? They're reluctant to enter Formula One and compete with established marquees without some of help to balance out the years of experience that others have accumulated. Porsche, listen, nobody told you to keep leaving. I understand that money is the rule of all bills, even in my world. Like, money is gonna, cap what you're gonna do each year. But either you're in it to win it or you're not. You can't sit here and try to come into the sport.
Just can't climb in the ring with all the eight because you think you box.
And then want them to lay down a bunch of regulations and rules that are gonna handicap other teams that have had years of development, on top of a lot of money in developing their cars to be competitive. But since you're coming in and you've had recent years or previous years of failure, you want Formula One and FIA to kind of level the playing field so that maybe your first season you might be successful. I think this is pretty rude of you, Porsche, to try to come in such kind of way. I'm not really digging this, but let's go on. Now, I spoke to this earlier and gave you the whole breakdown on the umbrella and all the products that exist in there. This is where things start getting a little bit hairy, and I think a little bit concerning for now current team principals, wondering how it is that Porsche is being implemented. The VW plan has not been yet officially confirmed, but it's clear that Porsche and Audi intend to develop independent engine products. Porsche will be running in conjunction with Red Bull powertrains, while Audi will be focused on its base in Germany. So far, basically with Porsche, Volkswagen engines in a Porsche. Now, I'm really kind of like skeptical about this, right? You heard me, Red Bull. A Porsche running a Red Bull power plant? Like, who? I know I got the, essentially, let's just be real. A Red Bull power plant is essentially a Honda power unit. Porsche running a Honda power unit? Like, I know people these days have been K-swapping Honda engines into Porsche platforms or chassis, which I think is hideous and it should not be done, but it is being done. But I think there's something to say with Porsche saying they're gonna run a Red Bull power unit, which essentially is a Honda power unit. It kind of reminds me of this, and this is a gearhead flex, of Yamaha collaborating with Toyota when they developed the 1JZ, which by far is a powerful platform to build off of. 500 horsepower with BPU additives, 700 horsepower if you want and you up the turbo on it, and that's on stock internals because of the way they built this motor in collaboration with Yamaha and Toyota. Forged internals, the motor is a beast still even today. You will find that 2JZs rely on a lot of platforms, from the 240 to the S13 and S14 chassis to Mustangs to 64 Impalas. The 2JZ has found its way into a lot of vehicles, including Mustang, but Mustang needs a lot of help from a lot of people, including the Chevy motor, because if you see a fast Mustang at the track, 9 times out of 10 it's got a Chevy motor in it. But let's get on to the story. So rivals? Well, I think they're not rivals at this point in time because Porsche is not even in the game. But current teams have these things, concerns, and to say. Two main concerns. First, exactly what constitutes as a new entrant. The fear is that Red Bull Porsche project could have its roots in the IP. Now, IP, I think, is intellectual property, all right? That's when you have said things that your team has developed and that you don't think everybody else should have the right to, so you use them, you don't share them, which I think is a funny situation, because I think possibly the whole Ferrari investigation, why these results or the report didn't come out, is because intellectual property was involved. And if they put the report out, then other teams would know what Ferrari had developed in order to have their car that fast in the straights. And if other teams knew it, then they would start developing it. But then that's kind of crooked of the FIA and Formula One not to release it, but they find them just to allow Ferrari to have the upper hand in what would seem this year. The plot thickens. Competitors also want assurances that Porsche and Audi projects really are independent of the two teams, and there will be no crossover with R&D and development. This is very important, but Mercedes And Ferrari are not the only team principals or teams that have something to say. Alpine's team principal had plenty to say, and I think what he had to say was actually exponential on top of what the other two had to say. And I think maybe because Alpine is not a car manufacturer, whereas you have Mercedes and Ferrari are. So they're looking at it and they're responding a bit differently to the whole Porsche entrance because they stand from a different platform where they literally have cars out here on the road. So even when Porsche, Ferrari, and Mercedes will not be competing on the track, several owners that own these cars are competing in nooks and crannies of the world, whether it be in amateur racing or performance racing or professional racing. These cars, these name brands are continuously running up against each other. So they don't want to really show that they're concerned about another car manufacturer entering their space. They want to make sure they look strong, they stand strong, even though they might be a bit concerned about some of the things, which is why I think the undertones were there with Benito and Toto, the way he kind of went about saying it. But Alpine's team principal, I think he's like, screw that shit. I don't have cars out there on the road. These are my concerns. Let's look at what he has to say. So Alpine's Rossi shares similar sentiments. I think it's nice. It is a good look for the sport, he says, for VW's planned entry, but we need to really pay attention to a couple of things. Actually, we need to check and make sure that two separate teams are two separate teams. You know where I'm going here. We need to make sure that if they are entering the arena as teams, are they work teams? Is it coming from Porsche, from Audi? Is it coming from Red Bull or Honda? Do they have preferential treatment? Yo, does he not sound concerned? Rossi's like, no, screw that. Y'all need to be very clear on what is what. Is Porsche coming in here and they're mixing in with Red Bull? And how is that all gonna work? How is that coming to fruition? I totally feel him, but that's not all he had to say. He had more to say on this issue. And I guess it's the same concern for most teams here, but especially for us as works teams, because we've invested literally billions over the past 20 years, 40 years for Renault in power units. If not for someone to come in just like that to get the lion's share just because they roll out the red carpet, because it's basically disrupting our business model and putting a lot of jobs at risk. So yeah, he's concerned, and he should be. And I think, like he said, other teams, I think he's kind of lumping Ferrari and Mercedes in there like, yeah, they coming off like they really not concerned, but yeah, they really concerned. And I'm going to say that I'm concerned, and this is why I'm concerned. And I think that's a very valid concern he has. So the other team principal that we'll hear from, of course, Christian. What does Christian have to say about this? As crooked Christian is, right? We know Christian's crooked, like, and he cries about everything. And he's even been called a Karen at times. I haven't called him Karen. I've called him other things, but I haven't called him Karen. So what does he have to say about this? Let's check it out. Horner can't yet confirm any future Porsche deals, although rivals are convinced that it has already been agreed in principle. However, his team is committed to running a product of Red Bull powertrains in 2026. Whatever name is on the cam cover, and as such, Horner is at the forefront of push for concessions. So Christian is at the forefront of pushing for these concessions to be made for Porsche. I wonder why. This is my concern as it sits. Now, I may not know all of the Formula One business. I might not even know a big portion of Formula One business. And stick with me, this video is almost coming to the end. I'm gonna sum it up right now with what I think personally. I'm pretty sure that the problem lies somewhere in this. You have Porsche, you have Audi, you have Volkswagen, you have Red Bull, you have Honda. Well, all of these teams, given that the Formula One has implemented a cap, if they're all in cahoots together and you have all of these different entities, yet they're collaborating together and sharing IP information, research and development information with each other, what's to stop them unless Formula One puts certain regulations and statutes in place that they cannot share? We better not see any cross-referencing or anything. What's to stop them from basically having these meetings and say, hey, this is what we're going to try. You use said funds for this. And as things progress, then we'll change funds over to the other team to use for this development. And then Porsche will use funds for this development. And then instead of basically having separate salary caps or money caps for their teams, they have a collective of money to use if they all take turns on promoting and pushing the research and development for all the teams. I think that this is a problem. I really do think that this is a problem unless Formula One and the FIA make sure that certain things are upheld, that these teams cannot cross research and development, they cannot share IP, they in no way, shape, form, or fashion can have any hint that one team is progressively making research and developments for another team and then seeing those developments shared with another team. That cannot happen, right? And I think that this is a concern, especially with people knowing Porsche's history and Formula One and their continuous or multiple failures. Also, Honda developing the Red Bull powertrain, although Red Bull is now going to go ahead and put their name out there. What happens later? And Porsche utilizing a Red Bull powertrain, once again, is disrespectful to me. I think it's horrible. I think it's a nasty idea, but I don't cut Red Bull short of anything that would help them, like, probably repeat eventually, because they definitely need to. You let me know what you think below in the comment section. I think Porsche should come into Formula One if they want to. I don't think that any concessions should be made for Porsche. I think if they want to come in, they need to come in as they are and compete. You can't come in just because you think you're box and then ask for all this stuff. It's either run what you brung or you're gonna leave. I'm not giving you any links. I'm not giving you a bumper, other than the pole position that you earn when we line up on the grid on Sunday at lights out. That's it. So let me know what you think about the video. Let me know what your thoughts are as far as Porsche entering Formula One, and let me know what you think about other team principals and how they feel about the Porsche situation. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Other than that, you know what's up. We're gonna be live for lights out on Sunday at Final Lap. See you soon. Peace. Thanks for tuning in and watching another video here at Wolfpack Performance. Check out some of my other content on Formula One issues, our topics, and our DIY products on how to customize your vehicle. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.